In fact, I think that China benefits from this very pandemic, and China actually wanted to catch up with the very loss because of the pandemic. The kind of halting of production in Hollywood did impact China's film market because usually almost like 30 or 40% of the Chinese market are actually Hollywood films. And so this year, because of the halting, because of the stoppage of this very Hollywood import, Chinese film had a hard time. But then Chinese domestic productions are catching up. There are lots of tentpole films being released, such as Sacrifice, My Hometown, My People, and also some of the sci-fi the blockbusters on the internet. And so the general trend right now is, even if that the movie theaters are opening at the reduced capacities, online viewing is becoming the trend.
And Lin, in her report, talking about what's going on there in Xiamen, theaters closed for half a year. Now they're recruiting young people to come and work in the theaters, anticipating crowds. So talk about Spring Festival, because we usually see people traveling all over the place, but, you know, they're urging people to stay home. Do you suspect that will result in positive numbers for the Chinese box office, with many people encouraged just not to travel?
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to say. I mean, but then the whole thing now is that the situation is kind of divided. In China's south, the pandemic situation is not that very serious, and so I would anticipate an increase in terms of viewer returning to movie theaters to watch films, such as in Xiamen, Guangdong, and even Hong Kong, and all these great Pearl River Delta region. And so, because of the warm climate, pandemic may not be spreading out that fast. But then things may be different in the north, since it is a cold region out there in the north, and there's kind of a restraining orders in terms of traveling. And so it is very hard for viewers to return to movie theaters to watch. And so once again, I would anticipate a kind of a viewing online, live streaming of films on iQIYI and Tencent in this very winter, and especially the Happy New Year Film Festival season.
From a context standpoint, can you give us a feel for things, because you have this unique background? I was looking at your bio. For close to a decade in the 90s, you worked as a consultant for some high-profile Chinese filmmakers. Talk to us about the industry there at that time and where it is today.
Well, thank you very much for this I mean, kind of a reminder of those beautiful times back in the 1990s. I mean, yes, absolutely. And back in those years, in the 1990s and early 2000s, content-wise, Chinese film has always been a kind of a self-reflexive gaze upon its own history, its culture, and there's a lot of criticism of what is going on back in the past during the Cultural Revolution, and so and also, of course, the kind of a striving, kind of a aspiration on the part of the Chinese filmmakers to reflect upon and to look out to the future. But then things are changing dramatically with the advance of filmmaking technology, and just, for example, the 3Ds and the sci-fis. And so over the years, since 2015, let's say, there's a lot of 3D sci-fis. And for example, back in 2019, this great sci-fi blockbuster, called The Wandering Earth. I mean, The Wandering Earth actually created a huge miracle and sort of impact on Chinese filmmaking. It is widely agreed it is the holy grail for Chinese filmmakers. But then over these years, we also see some of these content change. Take last year, for example. There's a lot of local historical war drama, as well as some kind of a local, some kind of an urban drama and romance. There's some kind of a feel-good film now back to movie theaters, back online because of the pandemic. The pandemic actually hits theaters hard and hit audience psychology hard. And so in this sense, the Chinese filmmakers are actually trying to adapt to this situation and meet the needs by bringing back some of these very kind of a nostalgia films and local small Chinese films and also some of these grand narrative films about the war in Korea. And so these are actually the change and also the differences I observed over these past year.